I never thought the woman I loved for 3 years would celebrate my existence ending. But there I was, staring at Mary's social media post, watching my entire world crumble into ashes. The photo was perfect. Too perfect. Mary stood on a yacht deck at sunset, wearing the emerald dress I had bought her last month with my savings. Her arms were wrapped around George, my business partner, the man I trusted with every secret except one. The caption read, "Finally found my real king. Goodbye to mediocrity. Hello to the life I deserve." The comments poured in like daggers. Her friends congratulated her. Strangers envied her. Someone asked about the delivery guy she used to date. Mary replied within seconds. That poor loser. He was just someone to pass time with until my real prince arrived. George saved my company with $20 million. What did David ever give me? Cheap flowers and empty promises. $20 million. The exact amount I had transferred anonymously through my company to save her failing business 6 months ago. The same money I told George to deliver as an investment opportunity, never mentioning my connection to Mary. I wanted to see if she would love me, David, the delivery driver, without knowing I was David Chen, heir to the Chen empire worth $3 billion. My phone buzzed. Another post. This time it was a video. Mary and George, kissing passionately. His hand on her stomach. The caption made my blood freeze. 8 weeks and counting. Our little miracle. 8 weeks ago, I was still sharing her bed. Still believing her promises of forever. Still playing the role of the struggling boyfriend who worked double shifts to afford her birthday gifts. I sat in my delivery van, parked outside the warehouse where I pretended to work, and laughed, not from joy. From the bitter realization that I had been the world's biggest fool. I had given her everything while pretending to have nothing, and she had thrown me away the moment someone richer appeared. Someone richer. The irony burned like acid. George worked for me. The yacht belonged to my company. Even the ring on her finger came from my investment portfolio. She had left me for a man spending my money, carrying another man's child, all while thinking she had upgraded. My assistant James appeared beside my van, tablet in hand. "Sir, should we proceed with the termination?" I looked at Mary's smiling face one last time. Then I made my decision. Burn it all down. 3 years earlier, I had everything except the one thing money could not buy. Genuine love. My father built the Chen empire from nothing, turning a small textile factory into a multinational conglomerate. By the time I turned 25, I was worth more than most people would earn in 10 lifetimes. Women threw themselves at me. Business partners praised every word I spoke. Friends appeared from nowhere, always needing favors. But none of it felt real. They loved my money. My name. My power. Never me. That changed the day I met Mary. She was serving coffee at a small cafe near my office building, the kind of place I would normally never enter. But my driver was sick, and I decided to walk that morning. She smiled at me like I was just another customer, no recognition in her eyes. For the first time in years, someone looked at me and saw a person, not a bank account. I started going there every morning. We talked about ordinary things, her dreams of opening a design studio. My fabricated stories about working in logistics. She never asked about my car or my apartment. She just wanted to know my favorite books and whether I preferred tea or coffee. It was intoxicating. 6 months later, I asked her out. She said yes, but only if I promised never to lie to her. I agreed, knowing I was already breaking that promise. I rented a modest apartment in her neighborhood. Bought a used motorcycle. Created an entire false identity as David, the delivery driver. My assistant James managed everything behind the scenes, ensuring no one would accidentally reveal the truth. Mary's design studio was struggling. She had talent but no capital. I watched her work 16-hour days. Skipping meals to save money. Slowly drowning in debt. Every instinct screamed at me to write a check and solve everything. But I held back. I needed to know if she would love me when I could not save her. If she would stand by me when times were hard. Instead, I helped in small ways. I delivered her packages for free. Introduced her to potential clients through carefully orchestrated coincidences. Spent my weekends helping her organize inventory. She would kiss my cheek and call me her rock, her partner, her future. Those words meant everything. Then her company nearly collapsed. A supplier lawsuit threatened bankruptcy. She cried in my arms for 3 nights straight, terrified of losing everything she had built. I held her and promised we would figure it out together. She looked at me with such trust, such love, and said, "David, you are all I need. Even if I lose the business, as long as I have you, I will be okay." I believed her. God help me. I believed every word. Behind the scenes, I instructed George to approach her as an anonymous investor. He would offer $20 million in exchange for 30% equity. The contract was generous, designed to save her company without taking control. I told George it was a promising startup opportunity, never revealing my relationship with Mary. I wanted the investment to seem legitimate, separate from our personal life. Mary was ecstatic. She threw a celebration party, invited all her friends, and spent the entire night talking about her mysterious benefactor. She called him her guardian angel, her savior, the man who believed in her when no one else would. I stood in the corner of that party, drinking cheap beer, watching her glow with happiness, and felt satisfied. I had saved her without her knowing. Our love could continue untainted by money. But George started visiting the studio more often. Business meetings, he claimed. Strategy sessions. Mary mentioned him casually at first. George gave me great advice about the new collection, then more frequently. George thinks we should expand into international markets. Then constantly. George is taking me to a suppliers conference next week. I felt the first whisper of doubt, but I pushed it away. Mary loved me. She told me so every night. We talked about marriage, about children, about growing old together in a small house by the sea. She would laugh at my delivery uniform and say she did not need a rich man, just a good one. I was planning to propose. I had already designed the ring myself, a platinum band with sapphires in her favorite shade of blue. Not the massive diamond a Chen heir should give, but something meaningful. Something that represented us. I was going to take her to that same cafe where we met, get down on one knee, and finally tell her the truth. That I was David Chen. That every anonymous miracle in her business came from me. That I had tested her, and she had passed. Then George called me one evening. "Boss, we need to talk about the Mary situation." His voice sounded strange. Guilty. "There have been some developments." My stomach dropped. "What developments?" He hesitated too long. "Maybe you should see for yourself. Check her social media. The private account she thinks you do not know about." I found it within minutes. The account where she posted her real thoughts. Not the curated version she showed me. Photo after photo of her and George. Captions about finding her real match. Comments from her friends asking when she would dump the delivery boy. Her responses made me physically ill. David is sweet, but honestly so boring. George just bought me a Cartier bracelet. David gives me gas station flowers. I feel guilty sometimes, but George is taking me to Paris next month. David thinks Olive Garden is fancy dining. My mom asked when I am getting serious. I told her I am waiting for the right tax bracket, haha. Every word was a knife. Every laugh was poison. I scrolled back months, finding the exact moment her feelings changed. It coincided perfectly with George's first investment meeting. She had not fallen out of love with me. She had never truly loved me at all. She loved what she thought George represented. Wealth. Status. Escape from mediocrity. The final post appeared 2 days ago. The yacht photo. The pregnancy announcement. The public declaration that I meant nothing. I had spent 3 years building a relationship on honesty, only to discover it was built on lies from both sides. Mine about my identity. Hers about her heart. I did not sleep that night. I sat in my real penthouse, the one Mary never knew existed, and watched the city lights blur through my anger. James brought coffee at dawn, his expression carefully neutral. "The board meeting is in 3 hours, sir. They will want to know your decision about the Henderson merger." "Cancel it," I said flatly. "Cancel everything today. I need you to pull every file on George. Every transaction. Every communication. Everything." James nodded slowly. "Should I be concerned about what I will find?" "You should be concerned about what I am going to do once you find it." By noon, the evidence covered my dining table. George had been sloppy. Arrogant. He assumed I would never look closely at the Mary investment because I had ordered it myself. But buried in the expense reports were irregularities. The $20 million came from my company, yes. But George had created false invoices, inflating the actual investment to $30 million and pocketing the difference. He used my money to buy Mary's affection, the yacht rental, the jewelry, the Paris trip. All of it funded by theft. Worse, he had been systematically stealing from other projects too. Small amounts from dozens of accounts, thinking the sheer volume of Chen Empire business would hide his crimes. In total, he had embezzled nearly $50 million over 2 years. My trusted partner was a thief. And he had stolen my girlfriend using my own money. The rage that filled me was cold. Calculated. I did not want to simply fire George or report him to authorities. I wanted him destroyed. I wanted Mary to watch her prince revealed as a fraud. I wanted both of them to understand exactly what they had lost. James, I need you to do something for me. Something that might seem cruel. Sir, after reading these files, I believe cruelty is justified. What do you need? I outlined my plan. James listened without interruption, his expression growing darker. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. This will humiliate them publicly. Destroy their reputations. End any future they might have planned together. Are you certain? I thought about Mary's words. That poor loser. I thought about George's betrayal, stealing from me while smiling to my face. I thought about 3 years of carefully constructed lies, on both sides, all collapsing into this moment of clarity. I am absolutely certain. Start with freezing George's accounts. He has been living beyond his means, relying on the stolen money. Cut off his access. Then pull the investment from Mary's company. The contract has a clause allowing withdrawal if fraud is discovered. George's embezzlement qualifies. Make it legal. Make it airtight. Make it devastating. James made notes. Timeline. I want George panicking by tonight. I want Mary confused by tomorrow morning. And I want both of them in my office by tomorrow afternoon, begging for mercy they will not receive. And your identity? Still hidden. Let them think they are dealing with the mysterious Chen Corporation leadership. Let them wonder who is destroying their lives. The revelation comes later, when it will hurt the most. James left to execute the plan. I stood at my window, looking down at the city where Mary was probably planning her future with George right now. Shopping for baby furniture with stolen money. Laughing about how she had traded up. Believing the universe had finally given her what she deserved. My phone rang. Mary's name appeared on the screen. For 3 years, seeing her call made me smile. Now it made me feel nothing. I answered anyway, keeping my voice carefully normal. Hey, I was just thinking about you, I lied smoothly. 3 years of deception had made me an expert. David, we need to talk. Her voice was tight. Nervous. Can you come over tonight? Is something wrong? She hesitated. I just think we should discuss some things. About us. About where this is going. So, she was finally going to break up with me officially. Probably had some rehearsed speech about growing apart. About wanting different things. All while George's baby grew inside her. Sure, I said calmly. I will bring dinner. That Thai place you like. No. Too sharp. Too fast. Actually, do not bring anything. Just come over around 7. Okay. She hung up before I could respond. I smiled at my reflection in the window. She was planning something. Probably wanted to end things before I found out about the pregnancy. Clean break. Move on to her new life without complications. But I had other plans. At 6:30, I dressed in my delivery uniform one last time. Faded jeans, company jacket, worn sneakers. The costume I had worn to be worthy of her love. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. 3 years of pretending to be someone else had created a stranger. I drove my motorcycle to her apartment, the modest place I had helped her afford with my delivery salary. My actual salary could have bought the entire building. The irony was suffocating. Mary answered, the door looking nervous. Behind her, I could see George sitting on the couch. My couch, the one I had assembled myself 6 months ago. He looked smug, comfortable. Like he belonged there. David. Come in. Mary said, not meeting my eyes. We need to talk. I walked inside slowly, playing my role. George. What are you doing here? George stood, straightening his expensive suit. Expensive suit bought with my money. Mary asked me to be here. For support. Support for what? Mary twisted her hands together. David. You are a good person. You really are. But I think we want different things in life. I need someone who can provide stability, security. Someone with ambition. And I do not have ambition. I kept my voice hurt. Confused. Everything she expected. You are a delivery driver, George said, his tone patronizing. You work hard, I respect that. But Mary deserves someone who can give her the world. Someone like me. You? I looked between them. Are you two together? Mary had the grace to look ashamed. It just happened. George has been helping with my business and we connected. I am sorry, David. I never meant to hurt you. When did this start? Does it matter? George moved closer to Mary, possessive. The point is, she is with me now. You should move on. Find someone more your speed. Something in his tone triggered me. The casual dismissal. The certainty that he had won. I felt my careful control slipping. More my speed, I repeated slowly. What exactly is my speed, George? He shrugged. Someone realistic. Someone who does not expect caviar when they can only afford hot dogs. Mary needs luxury. Travel. The finer things. Can you give her that? I looked at Mary. She could not meet my eyes. Is that what you think? That I am not good enough? It is not about good enough, she said quietly. It is about compatibility. George and I just fit better. Because of his money. Because he understands my world, she corrected, but we both knew the truth. I nodded slowly. I see. So all those conversations about love being enough. About building something together. About not needing material things. That was all lies. People change. Mary said defensively. I grew up. I realized what I actually need in a partner. You need money. I need security. She snapped. I need someone who does not make me worry about rent every month. Someone who can take me nice places without checking his bank account first. Is that so wrong? I should have left. Should have walked out with dignity and let my plan unfold naturally. But something kept me rooted to that spot, staring at the woman I had loved, seeing a stranger. 3 years of memories crashed over me like waves, each one now tainted with new understanding. When did you stop loving me? The question escaped before I could stop it. Vulnerable. Raw. Real. Mary flinched. David, do not make this harder than it has to be. Answer the question. When did I stop being enough? She looked at George, seeking support. He nodded encouragingly. She took a breath. Honestly, I do not think you were ever enough. I thought you would grow. Advance in your career. Show some ambition. But you are still delivering packages. David. Still living in that tiny apartment. Still acting like working hard is the same as working smart. Each word landed like a physical blow. I had worked hard. Harder than she knew. Every package I delivered was part of my disguise. Every small paycheck I showed her was a fraction of what I actually earned. I had humbled myself completely. And she had mistaken my humility for weakness. I gave you everything I had, I said quietly. Exactly, George interjected. Everything you had was not very much. Mary deserves a man who can give her everything she wants without sacrifice. I can do that. You cannot. Simple math. Simple math. He was quantifying love. Reducing 3 years of relationship to a balance sheet. And he was right. In the cruelest possible way. By his calculation, by Mary's calculation, I had always been insufficient. Does he know about the baby? I asked suddenly. Mary's face went white. George's smug expression cracked. The silence stretched like broken glass. How did you? Mary started. Your social media. The private account you forgot I could see. Congratulations, by the way. 8 weeks. That is quite an achievement considering we were still together 8 weeks ago. George stepped forward aggressively. Are you accusing her of cheating? I laughed, bitter and sharp. I am not accusing anything. I am stating facts. 8 weeks ago, Mary was in my bed. Now she is carrying your child. Either she cheated, or you both did, or the timeline is very interesting. Which is it? Mary's tears started. Perfect timing. She always cried when cornered. We were going to tell you. I did not know how. You have to understand, George and I, we just connected so deeply. It was not supposed to happen, but I fell in love and I cannot apologize for love. Cannot apologize for love. I repeated. But you can apologize for betrayal? For lies? For 3 years of wasting my time while you waited for something better? That is not fair, she protested. I cared about you. I did. But caring is not the same as being in love. George makes me feel alive. He makes me feel valuable. You made me feel poor. There it was. The truth beneath all the pretty words. I made her feel poor because I pretended to be poor. George made her feel rich because he stole money to appear rich. Neither of us was real, but she had chosen the lie that came with better accessories. I should go, I said, turning toward the door. I needed to leave before I said something that would ruin my plan. Before my anger overwhelmed my strategy. Wait. Mary called. Your things. You have stuff here. Clothes. Books. That ridiculous plant you insisted on buying. Keep it. Consider it a breakup gift. David, please do not be like this. We can still be friends. I do not want there to be bad blood between us. I stopped with my hand on the doorknob. Friends. You want to be friends? Why not? We were good together once. Just because the romantic part did not work out does not mean we have to hate each other. I turned back slowly. She actually believed that. She genuinely thought we could have some civilized friendship where she would tell me about her perfect life with George and I would smile and pretend to be happy. The delusion was stunning. Mary, let me be very clear. We will never be friends. Friends do not betray each other. Friends do not lie for years. Friends do not throw away someone who loved them just because someone with a bigger bank account appeared. You want to feel better about yourself. You want me to absolve you of guilt. I will not. What you did was cruel. Selfish. And someday, probably soon, you will realize exactly what you gave up. But by then it will be too late. Gave up? George laughed. What exactly is she giving up? A future of struggling to pay bills. Of bargain shopping and discount vacations. I am offering her the world, friend. You are offering her nothing. I looked at him carefully. Really looked at him. George was good at appearances. The suit, the watch, the confident posture. All of it projected success. But I knew the truth behind the costume. The debt. The theft. The house of cards that was about to collapse. Tomorrow, he would lose everything. And Mary would lose her prince. You are right, I said finally. I have nothing to offer. She made the right choice. I hope you will both be very happy together. I left without looking back. Got on my motorcycle and rode through the city, not going anywhere in particular, just moving. My phone buzzed continuously. James with updates. My father wanting to discuss business. Friends asking about dinner plans. I ignored everything. Eventually I found myself at the original cafe where I had met Mary. It was late, nearly closing time. The same barista who trained Mary still worked there. She recognized me immediately. David, right? I have not seen you in forever. How is Mary? I heard her business is doing great. She is fine, I managed. Thriving, actually. That is wonderful. You two were so cute together. Like something from a movie. The struggling couple making it work through determination and love. She smiled warmly. It gives people hope, you know. Hope? I had given people hope while being a lie myself. The irony was overwhelming. We broke up, I said abruptly. Her smile faded. Oh no. I am so sorry. What happened? She found someone better. Someone who can give her more than I could. The barista shook her head sadly. That is awful. I really thought you two would make it. She always talked about you so sweetly. Said you were her rock. People change. I echoed Mary's words. Things end. I ordered coffee I did not want and sat in our old booth, the place where everything started, where I had made the catastrophic decision to hide my identity. Where I had convinced myself that testing her love was romantic instead of insane. If I had just been honest from the beginning, would things be different? Would she have loved the real me? Or would she have been like all the others? Seeing only dollar signs. The truth was, I would never know. I had poisoned the relationship with deception from day one. Yes, she had betrayed me. Yes, she had chosen money over love. But I had lied about who I was. I had manipulated circumstances. I had tested her without her knowledge or consent. We were both guilty. We had both built something false. My phone rang. James again. I finally answered. Sir, it is done. George's accounts are frozen. Mary's company received the withdrawal notice. Both are panicking. George tried to call you 17 times. Mary sent you 43 messages. They know something is wrong but not what. Do you want me to schedule the confrontation meeting? I stared at my cold coffee. At the empty booth across from me where Mary used to sit. At the ghost of who we used to be. Yes, I said. Tomorrow afternoon, my office. Tell them Chen Corporation leadership wants to discuss the investment irregularities. Do not mention my name. Let them sweat. Understood. Sir, if I may say something personal. Go ahead. What she did was unforgivable. But be careful that revenge does not consume you. I have seen it happen. Good people become monsters when they focus only on hurting those who hurt them. I appreciated his concern. But he did not understand. This was not about revenge anymore. It was about truth. About stripping away every lie and seeing what remained. About forcing Mary and George to face reality without the protective shield of money and pretense. I am not becoming a monster, James. I am revealing the ones who already existed. The messages from Mary started arriving around midnight. First confused. Then panicked. Then desperate. David, something happened with my company. The investment is being withdrawn. Do you know anything about this? Please call me. I need to talk to you about something important. The lawyers say there was fraud. They think George did something wrong. David, I am scared. Why are not you answering? I know we just broke up, but I need help. Please. I read each one with detached interest. Her fear was palpable even through text. The confidence from earlier had evaporated, replaced by the reality of her situation. Without George's money, without the mysterious investment, her company would collapse within weeks. Everything she had built, everything she had betrayed me for, was disappearing. George's messages were different. Angry. Accusatory. Who did you talk to? What did you tell Chen Corporation? I know you are behind this. You could not handle Mary choosing me, so you sabotaged everything. Call me immediately. We need to fix this before it gets worse. You have no idea who you are messing with. I have connections. I will destroy you. His threats were empty. Desperate. The bravado of a man watching his castle crumble. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. By morning, the business news sites had picked up the story. Chen Corporation pulls investment from rising design company, cites fraud investigation. Mary's company was named. George's position as liaison was mentioned. Speculation ran wild about what kind of fraud had occurred. Mary's phone probably rang nonstop with reporters, investors, clients demanding explanations. At 11, James confirmed they had both agreed to the afternoon meeting. Mary sounded terrified on the call. George sounded combative. Both were confused about why Chen Corporation leadership wanted to see them personally. Normally these matters were handled by lawyers and accountants. A face-to-face meeting suggested something bigger was happening. Did they ask about me? I questioned James. George did. He asked if David the delivery driver had made any complaints. I told him this had nothing to do with you. That the fraud was discovered through routine auditing. He seemed relieved. Of course, he was relieved. In George's mind, I was just a discarded boyfriend. Harmless. Irrelevant. He had no idea the auditor was me. That every piece of evidence had been deliberately compiled. That his entire world was orchestrated to collapse at this specific moment. I dressed carefully that morning. Not the delivery uniform. Not casual clothes. I wore a custom Italian suit that cost more than Mary's monthly rent. Handmade shoes. My father's watch, worth $500,000. I styled my hair differently, sharper, more severe. When I looked in the mirror, I saw David Chen, CEO. The man I had hidden for 3 years. The man Mary never knew existed. James waited in my office. Sir, they will be here in 2 hours. Security is briefed. Legal team is standing by. Are you ready? Almost. I need you to do one more thing. Pull every photo from Mary's private social media. Every comment. Every cruel word about me. Print them. I want hard copies on my desk. I want her to see exactly what I saw. James hesitated. That seems unnecessarily cruel. Is it cruel to show someone the truth of their own words? It is cruel to weaponize someone's private thoughts. She made them public, I countered. On social media. Available to hundreds of friends. The only thing private about them was that she hid them from me specifically. That is not privacy. That is deception. James nodded reluctantly and left to compile the evidence. I stood at my office window, looking down at the city. Somewhere out there, Mary was probably crying. Wondering how her perfect plan had fallen apart so quickly. Regretting her choices, or perhaps just regretting the consequences. I wondered if she thought about me. If she realized yet that breaking up with me the night before her world collapsed was suspiciously convenient timing. My father called at noon. I heard you are handling some investment fraud personally. That is unusual for you. What is going on? Just cleaning up a mess, I said vaguely. This would not have anything to do with that girl you have been seeing, would it? The one you thought I did not know about. I tensed. You knew. Of course I knew. I am your father. I know everything about your life. The apartment in the poor neighborhood. The delivery job. The elaborate charade. I let it play out because I was curious where it would lead. So, did she pass your little test? No, I admitted. She failed spectacularly. Good, he said, surprising me. Better to learn the truth now than after marriage and children. Your mother married me for love, back when I had nothing. That foundation has sustained us through 50 years. If this girl could not love you without money, she was not worthy anyway. Clean it up and move on. Find someone real. He hung up before I could respond. My father, the ruthless businessman who terrified competitors and employees alike, had just given me relationship advice. The world was full of surprises today. At 1:30, security called. Sir, Your 2 o'clock appointments have arrived. Mary Lynn and George Patterson. They are waiting in the lobby. Make them wait 10 more minutes. Then bring them to conference room A. Not my office. I want the big table. The formal setting. Make it intimidating. Understood, sir. I gathered my evidence. The embezzlement files. The fake invoices. The expense reports. Mary's printed social media posts. Everything organized in neat folders. James joined me in the conference room, along with our head legal counsel and the chief financial officer. We sat on one side of the massive table, 3 empty chairs opposite us. At precisely 1:40, security escorted Mary and George inside. Mary looked terrible. No makeup could hide her puffy eyes or pale skin. She wore a simple dress, probably trying to look sympathetic. George wore another expensive suit, armor against judgment. They both froze when they saw the formal setup. Please, sit, James said, gesturing to the empty chairs. They sat hesitantly. Mary's hands shook. George tried to maintain his confident posture, but his jaw was clenched tight. They looked at us expectantly, waiting for someone to speak. To explain why they were here. To tell them how to fix this nightmare. I let the silence stretch, let their anxiety build. Watch them squirm under the weight of corporate power. Finally, our legal counsel opened the first folder. Mr. Patterson, Miss Lynn, thank you for coming on such short notice. We have discovered serious irregularities in the investment made in Miss Lynn's company. Specifically, we have evidence of embezzlement, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty. Before we proceed with criminal charges, Chen Corporation leadership wanted to give you an opportunity to explain. George's face went red. There must be some mistake. I have handled everything by the book. Every transaction was legitimate. Really? Our CFO slid a paper across the table. This invoice shows a $30 million investment, but our bank records show only $20 million was actually transferred. Where did the other $10 million go? George snatched the paper, his eyes scanning frantically. That is a clerical error. Obviously, someone in accounting made a mistake. Someone in accounting. I repeated, speaking for the first time. My voice was cold. Unfamiliar. Would that someone be you, George? He looked at me for the first time, really looked, and his face went slack. David. Mary gasped. What are you doing here? I smiled. Funny story. I work here. The conference room went completely silent. Mary stared at me like I had grown a second head. George's face cycled through shock, confusion, and then pure terror as the pieces clicked into place. You work here. Mary repeated slowly, her voice hollow. At Chen Corporation. Not exactly. I said, standing and buttoning my suit jacket. I own it. David Chen. CEO. Majority shareholder. The person whose money you have been stealing, George. The investor who saved your company, Mary. Your mysterious benefactor was me the entire time. Mary's face drained of all color. She gripped the edge of the table like she might faint. That is impossible. You are a delivery driver. You live in a tiny apartment. You ride a motorcycle. I did those things, I corrected. Past tense. I was conducting an experiment. Testing whether someone could love me for who I am rather than what I have. You both failed that test spectacularly. George found his voice, though it came out strangled. You set us up. This whole thing was a trap. No, I said sharply. I gave you both opportunities to be honest. To be loyal. To show basic human decency. You chose theft and betrayal. Those were your decisions, not mine. James slid more papers across the table. Mr. Patterson, we have documented 53 separate instances of embezzlement over 24 months. The total amount stolen is $48,700,000. Every transaction traced back to accounts you control. Every fake invoice bears your digital signature. You have been stealing from Chen Corporation since the day you were hired. George's hands trembled as he looked at the evidence. I can explain. The money was borrowed. I planned to pay it back once my investments matured. It was temporary. Stolen. Our legal counsel corrected. The legal term is stolen. And using stolen funds to finance a lavish lifestyle while courting Mr. Chen's girlfriend adds a particularly offensive dimension. Mary finally found her voice. David, I had no idea. You have to believe me. I thought George was legitimate. I thought the investment came from some anonymous donor. If I had known it was you. You would have what? I interrupted. Stayed with me. Loved me. Let us not pretend, Mary. You saw my face every day for 3 years. The only thing that changed was your perception of my bank account. If money was irrelevant, like you always claimed, then this revelation should not matter. But we both know it does. We both know you are recalculating everything right now. She opened her mouth to protest, but no words came. Because I was right. I could see it in her eyes. The regret. The recognition of her catastrophic mistake. She had traded the man who actually loved her for a thief spending stolen money. And now both the money and the thief were disappearing. The baby, she whispered suddenly. David, I am carrying a baby. You cannot destroy George, he is the father. We need him. I felt something twist in my chest but kept my expression neutral. That is unfortunate timing. But it does not change the facts. George committed serious crimes. He will face consequences. What you do about your situation is your choice. My situation? Her voice rose hysterically. You mean your child? David, think about what you are doing. We can fix this. We can all sit down and work something out. Please, for the baby. I leaned forward slowly. Mary, let me be absolutely clear. That baby is not mine. The timeline does not match. 8 weeks ago, I was traveling for work. I was not even in the city. You and George were already together, so do not try to manipulate me with false paternity. I am many things, but I am not stupid. Her face crumbled. The last desperate card played and rejected. George put his arm around her, but there was no comfort in it. Just two people clinging together as they drowned. What do you want? George asked finally. Money? I will pay back every cent. Just name the terms. We can set up a payment plan. With what money? I asked. Your accounts are frozen. Your assets are being seized. By tomorrow, you will not have enough cash for coffee. And even if you did, $48 million at any reasonable interest rate would take you 3 lifetimes to repay. Then what? You want me in prison? You want to destroy my life completely? I want you to face reality, I said coldly. For 2 years you have lived a fantasy. Stealing money. Pretending to be successful. Stealing another man's girlfriend with that man's own money. You built a castle made of lies and theft. I am just showing you what happens when someone kicks the foundation. Mary stood abruptly, her chair scraping loudly. Stop playing games, David. What do you actually want from us? Revenge? An apology? Just tell us what we have to do to make this go away. I looked at her for a long moment. This woman I had loved. Had planned to marry. Had built an entire false identity to test. She stood there, pregnant with another man's child, begging me to save her from consequences of her own choices. And I felt nothing. The love had burned away, leaving only ash. I want you to understand something, I said quietly. Every moment of our relationship, I was genuine. My feelings were real. Yes, I lied about my money, but everything else was truth. I loved you, Mary. Completely. Unconditionally. I would have given you the world. All you had to do was love me back. Actually love me, not what you thought I could provide. Tears streamed down her face. I did love you. No, I interrupted. You loved the idea of me. The safe backup plan. The nice guy you could settle for if nothing better came along. And the moment someone richer appeared, someone you thought was richer, you threw me away like garbage. You posted about it publicly. You mocked me to your friends. You celebrated my existence ending. Those were your words, Mary. Not mine. So do not stand there and claim you loved me. I pulled out the printed social media posts and spread them across the table. Her own words, her own cruelty, displayed in black and white. She stared at them in horror. How did you get these? That account was private. Nothing is truly private, James said. You had 300 friends following that account. You really thought none of them would share? That word would not get back. You humiliated David publicly. This is simply returning the favor. George stood as well, his face hardening. Okay, fine. You caught us. You win. You are richer, smarter, more powerful. Congratulations. But what now? You charge me with embezzlement, I go to prison, Mary's company collapses, and you get what? Satisfaction. Does that fix your broken heart? It is a start, I admitted, but you are right. Criminal charges feel insufficient. So here is what is going to happen. George, you are going to resign from Chin Corporation effective immediately. You will sign a confession detailing every theft. You will agree to a civil judgment for the full amount plus damages. Your wages will be garnished for the rest of your life. You will never work in finance or business again. That is insane, he sputtered. No one would agree to that. The alternative is prison, our legal counsel said calmly. Federal embezzlement charges carry 20 years minimum. With the amounts involved, you would die behind bars. Mr. Mr. Chen is offering you a chance to stay free. Barely, but free. I suggest you take it. George looked like he might be sick. Mary grabbed his arm. Do it. Just do it. We will figure something out. Please. I turned my attention to Mary. As for you, the investment in your company is withdrawn immediately. However, the contract stipulated that the equity stake transfers back to Chen Corporation. So effectively, I now own 30% of your business. I could liquidate it, sell the assets, and leave you with nothing. But you will not, she said desperately. You would not. David, despite everything, I know you. You are not cruel. You would not destroy my life's work. You are right, I acknowledged. I am not needlessly cruel, so here is my offer. You can buy back the equity. Fair market value. $8 million. You have 90 days. If you cannot raise the money, the company becomes mine and you are out. 8 million? She laughed bitterly. Where would I possibly get $8 million in 90 days? My credit is maxed out. The banks will not touch me once this scandal breaks. You are giving me an impossible task. Then I guess you will lose everything, I said simply. Just like you expected me to lose everything. Just like you were fine with me staying poor forever. While you enjoyed stolen luxury. Fair is fair, Mary. She collapsed back into her chair, sobbing. George stood frozen, all his fight gone. They looked pathetic. Broken. Exactly how I had felt last night reading Mary's posts. Exactly how I was supposed to feel when they dumped me. There is one more thing, I said. Both of you will sign non-disclosure agreements. You will never speak about this situation. Not to press, not to friends, not to anyone. If word gets out about my involvement with Mary, if my personal life becomes public gossip, the deals are void and full criminal prosecution proceeds. Understood? They both nodded numbly. James produced the documents. Pages and pages of legal language. All designed to protect me and punish them. George signed first, his hand shaking so badly the signature was barely legible. Mary took longer. Reading through tears. But eventually she signed too. Excellent, I said, gathering the papers. You are free to go. George, security will escort you to clean out your desk. Mary, you will receive formal notice of the equity transfer by end of business today. I suggest you start fundraising immediately. 90 days passes quickly. They stood slowly. Defeated. Destroyed. George headed for the door, but Mary lingered, looking at me with desperate hope. David, please. There has to be another way. Let me talk to you privately. Just 5 minutes. Let me explain everything without lawyers and witnesses. Please. I considered refusing. But curiosity won. 5 minutes. James, give us the room. James looked concerned but nodded. He and the others filed out, leaving Mary and me alone in the massive conference room. She moved closer, reaching for my hand. I stepped back. Do not touch me. She flinched but pressed forward. David. I made a mistake. A terrible, horrible mistake. But it is not too late. We can start over. Now that I know who you really are, now that all the lies are gone, we can build something real. Please. Give me another chance. Now that you know I am rich, I corrected. That is what you mean. If I was actually just a delivery driver, if this was all a misunderstanding and I was really poor, you would not want another chance. You would have walked out without looking back. That is not true. Yes, it is. And that is why we can never work. Mary. I wanted you to love me at my lowest. To prove that money did not matter. You wanted to leave me at my lowest. You celebrated finding someone richer. Those are incompatible values. We are incompatible people. The baby, she tried again. What if it actually is yours? What if I was wrong about the dates? Are you really going to abandon your own child? Get a paternity test, I said firmly. If somehow, impossibly, it is mine, we will discuss co-parenting arrangements, but I will never be with you again. That ship sailed, it burned. It sank to the bottom of the ocean. Whatever we had is dead. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I loved you. I know you do not believe me, but I did. I was just confused. Scared. George promised me security and I panicked. But my heart was always with you. Your heart was always with money. I corrected gently. And there is nothing wrong with that, honestly. Many people value financial stability. But do not call it love. Do not pretend it was about anything except upgrading to a bigger wallet. At least have the courage to be honest now. She stared at me, and something in her expression shifted. The desperate hope faded, replaced by bitter acceptance. Fine. You want honesty? Yes, I chose George because he had money. Because I was tired of struggling. Tired of pretending cheap dates were romantic. Tired of wondering if we would make rent. I wanted nice things. I wanted security. And I thought George could provide that. I was wrong, obviously. He was a fraud. But at least I am not a hypocrite who pretends to be poor to test people. At least I did not lie about my entire identity. You are right, I agreed. You did not lie about your identity. You just lied about your heart. About your values. About what mattered to you. But sure, you win the honesty award. Go to hell, David, she spat suddenly. You and your self-righteous revenge. You are not some noble victim. You manipulated me for 3 years. You played games with my emotions. You set elaborate traps and then act shocked when I fail. You are just as bad as George. Worse. Maybe. At least he was just greedy. You are cruel. I smiled sadly. Maybe you are right. Maybe we deserve each other. Maybe this whole situation is just 3 terrible people hurting each other in increasingly creative ways. But the difference is, I am the one still standing. I am the one who wins. And you are the one who has to live with her choices. I walked to the door and opened it. Your 5 minutes are up. Goodbye, Mary. I genuinely hope you find whatever it is you are looking for, but you will not find it with me. I left her standing alone in the conference room and did not look back. The scandal broke within hours. Business news sites picked up the story of George's resignation and the fraud investigation. Mary's company troubles made the design industry publications. Social media exploded with speculation. Through it all, my name stayed carefully hidden. Chen Corporation released a statement about an internal matter being resolved. Nothing about my personal involvement. Nothing about Mary. Just corporate language and legal protection. I spent the next week buried in work. Legitimate work. Running my actual company instead of playing delivery driver. It felt strange at first, being myself again. No more hiding. No more pretending. Just David Chen, doing what David Chen did. My father was pleased. The board was satisfied. Everything returned to normal. Except nothing felt normal. James found me late one evening, still in my office at 10 p.m. Sir, you should go home. You have been here since 6 this morning. I am fine. Just finishing the quarterly reports. You finished those 3 hours ago. You are avoiding something. Want to talk about it? I leaned back in my chair. James had been with me for 8 years. He knew me better than anyone. I won. Why does it feel hollow? Because revenge always feels hollow, he said, sitting across from me. You destroyed them, yes. You proved you were right, they were wrong. You showed them the consequences of betrayal. But did it change anything? Are you happier? Have you moved forward? No, I admitted. I just feel empty. Like I wasted 3 years of my life on an experiment that failed. Like everything I felt was for nothing. Not nothing. You loved her. That was real. The relationship might have been built on lies. But your feelings were genuine. You cannot regret that. But I chose to lie. I chose to test her. If I had just been honest from the beginning, maybe things would be different. Or maybe she would have loved your money instead of you. James countered, you will never know. That is the price of deception, permanent uncertainty. He was right. I would spend the rest of my life wondering what if. What if I had been honest? What if Mary had been faithful? What if George had not stolen? What if everything had been different? The questions would haunt me. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer, but curiosity won. Hello. David, it is Sarah, Mary's friend. We met a few times. I need to talk to you about something important. I tensed. If Mary sent you to plead her case. She did not. She does not know I am calling. Look, I am not defending what she did. She made terrible choices, but there is something you should know, about the baby. My stomach dropped. What about it? She went to the doctor today for a paternity test. George insisted, wanted proof it was his before he committed to anything. The results came back. David. The baby is not George's. The timeline matches up with you. You are the father. The world tilted. I gripped my desk to steady myself. That is impossible. She said 8 weeks. I was traveling 8 weeks ago. She was confused about the dates. Panicked and miscounted. She is actually 12 weeks along. Doctor confirmed it. Which means it happened before George. Before any of the betrayal. This is your child. I could not breathe. Could not think. Why are you telling me this? Why not Mary? Because she is ashamed. Because she knows she has no right to ask anything from you. Because she made her choice and she thinks you will hate this baby because of what she did. But David, that baby did not betray you. That baby is innocent, and it deserves a father, even if its mother is flawed. Sarah hung up before I could respond. I sat in silence, processing the information. A child. My child. Growing inside the woman who had destroyed me. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. James looked at me with concern. What happened? Mary is pregnant with my baby. Not George's. Mine. He went pale. Oh. That complicates things. That is an understatement. For 3 days I did nothing. I did not call Mary. Did not reach out to Sarah. Just existed in a state of numb shock. A child changed everything. All my careful revenge suddenly seemed petty and small. I had destroyed the mother of my baby. Taken away her company. Left her financially ruined. What kind of father did that? On the 4th day, Mary showed up at Chen Corporation. Security called to ask if I would see her. I should have said no. Should have maintained my boundaries. But curiosity and something else, something I did not want to name, made me agree. She looked terrible. Exhausted. Defeated. But there was something different in her eyes. Something harder. She sat across from me without being invited. Sarah told you, she said. No question. Statement. Yes. I did not ask her to. I did not want you to know. Not because I want to keep your child from you, but because I know I have no right to ask you for anything. I burned every bridge. I destroyed any claim I might have had to your help or compassion. This baby deserves better than being used as a tool to manipulate you. I studied her carefully. What do you want, Mary? Nothing. I came to tell you that I am dropping the fight. You can have my company. I do not have $8 million. I will never have $8 million. So take it. Liquidate it. Whatever. I will get a regular job. Raise my child alone. Figure it out somehow. Our child. I corrected. You mean our child? She flinched. I have no right to call it ours. You made it clear you want nothing to do with me. A child does not change that. I will not trap you with obligation. If you want to be involved, I will not stop you. But I do not expect it. I do not deserve it. Her resignation was almost harder to handle than her manipulation. The fight had gone out of her. She was just tired. Defeated. Real, for perhaps the first time since I had known her. I am angry. I said carefully. Furious, actually. At you. At George. At this whole situation. You hurt me deeply, Mary. You betrayed my trust and mocked my love. I will not forget that. I will never trust you again. I know. But that baby did not betray me. That child is innocent, and it deserves better than parents who hate each other. She looked up, hope flickering. What are you saying? I am saying we need to figure this out. Not for us. Not for some fantasy of reconciliation. But for the child. We need to co-parent. Civilly. Maturely. Can you do that? Yes. She said immediately. Yes. I can do that. David. I know I ruined everything between us. But I swear. I will be a good mother. I will put this baby first. I will not use it to manipulate you or try to get back together. I just want my child to have a father. I nodded slowly. Then here is what is going to happen. I am not taking your company. Instead, I am restructuring the debt. You will buy back the equity over 10 years at reduced interest. Your payments will be manageable. You can keep building your business. Why would you do that? Because my child's mother being destitute helps no one. Because I do not want my son or daughter growing up watching their mother struggle. And because despite everything, I do not actually want to be needlessly cruel. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Thank you. I do not deserve this, but thank you. You are right. You do not deserve it. But the baby does. Everything I do from now on is for that child. Not for you. Never for you again. We are clear? Crystal clear. She left shortly after. We arranged to meet with lawyers the following week, to work out custody agreements and financial support. It was businesslike. Cold. Nothing like the warm future we had once imagined together, but it was real. Honest. Built on truth instead of lies. James came in after Mary left. That was generous of you. It was pragmatic, I corrected. Revenge stops mattering when a child is involved. Does this mean you forgive her? No. Forgiveness requires trust. I will never trust her again. But I can be civil. I can co-parent. I can put my child's needs above my hurt feelings. That is not forgiveness. That is just being an adult. Over the following months, Mary and I settled into an awkward routine. Doctor's appointments together. Discussions about names and nursery colors. Learning to be around each other without the weight of our failed relationship crushing everything. It was strange. Painful. But necessary. George disappeared completely. The confession and civil judgment destroyed him. He moved to another city. Took a minimum wage job. And from what I heard, lived in a tiny apartment barely making ends meet. His wages were garnished for my repayment. He would spend decades in poverty, paying for his crimes. I felt no satisfaction from his downfall. Just empty recognition that justice had occurred. Mary's company slowly recovered. She worked hard, rebuilt relationships, and created new designs. She was talented, I had to admit. Without the distraction of George's false promises, she focused and thrived. We rarely discussed anything beyond the baby. It was better that way. My father was surprisingly supportive when I told him about the pregnancy. A grandchild, he said, smiling. Your mother will be thrilled. And the mother? We are not together. We will never be together. But we will co-parent. Good. Better honest separation than false reconciliation. This child will need stability. Give them that. 8 months after the confrontation, Mary went into labor. I got the call at 3 a.m. and rushed to the hospital. She was alone, no friends or family yet arrived. She grabbed my hand as another contraction hit, squeezing hard enough to hurt. I am scared, she admitted. I know. But you are strong. You can do this. 12 hours later, I held my daughter for the first time. She was tiny, perfect, with Mary's eyes and my nose. I looked at her face and felt something shift inside me. All the anger, all the hurt, all the revenge, suddenly seemed meaningless. This little person was my future. Everything else was just painful history. Mary watched me hold our daughter. She is beautiful. She is perfect, I agreed. Have you chosen a name? I thought maybe we could choose together. She is ours, after all. We named her Grace. Grace Chen. A new beginning. A chance to build something good from the ruins of everything broken. 6 months passed. Grace grew. Mary and I managed co-parenting better than expected. We were not friends. Not lovers. Just two people raising a child together. I spent weekends at Mary's apartment, helping with feedings and diaper changes. She sent me photos during the week when I was working. We attended pediatrician appointments together. It was functional. Peaceful even. One evening, as I was leaving after putting Grace to bed, Mary stopped me at the door. David, I need to say something. I am not asking for forgiveness. I am not asking for another chance. But I need you to know that I am sorry. Truly. Deeply sorry. What I did was unforgivable. I hurt you in ways I cannot repair. But watching you with Grace, seeing the father you have become, I realize what I lost. Not your money. You. The man who loved me unconditionally. I threw away something irreplaceable and I will regret it for the rest of my life. I looked at her for a long moment. I appreciate the apology. But it does not change anything. We are good co-parents. Let us leave it at that. She nodded, tears in her eyes. You are a better person than I deserve. I did not argue. I just left, driving through the city toward my penthouse. My real home. My real life. I thought about the past year. The betrayal. The revenge. The unexpected pregnancy. The strange new normal we had created. It was not the ending I had imagined. But it was real. Honest. Built on truth instead of fantasy. And somehow, that was enough.